Candidate Forum. I am Melanie Bliss, the moderator for this evening's Candidate Forum and a representative for the League of Women Voters of Sioux Falls. Our forum is sponsored by the Sioux Falls Area Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters of Sioux Falls. We appreciate this partnership and the participation of the school board candidates this evening. Ladies, welcome. Tonight's forum is being held at the Instructional Planning Center and is being broadcast live on Midco Cable 20 and 595. This forum will be rebroadcast several times until the election. In addition, tonight's event is also being live streamed on the school district's YouTube channel. Election Day will be held next week on Tuesday, May 21st. Please repeat after me. Election will be held next Tuesday on May 21st and will be conducted at 13 precincts throughout the city of Sioux Falls. These polling centers will be open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And for specific precinct locations, you may visit the Sioux Falls District website, www.sf.k12.sd.us. I also would like to tell you that you can vote early at the voting centers from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm sorry. You can have early voting at the IPC from 7:30 until 5 o'clock tomorrow and Monday, and the voting centers are open on May 21st, and you can look at the website to get your voting center if you don't know where it is. In order to vote in this school board election, you must live within the Sioux Falls Public School District, and absentee ballots will be available through May 20th. This year's election features 4 candidates vying for 2 positions. They are in alphabetical order: Sarah Anderson, Nan Baker, Laura Hubble, and Carly Reiter. They are your 2019 school board candidates. Let's give them a hand right now. We are requesting questions from the audience. Please write your questions on the note cards provided. I believe there's note cards everywhere and pens. And if we run out, I have an extra 200. And so we can have those as well. The League of Women Voters will sort these questions and determine that they address various issues pertinent to the role of the Sioux Falls School Board member. At this time, we ask you to turn your cell phones off, and if you need to hold a conversation, we will escort you outside into the lobby. The format for tonight's forum is as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for introductions. After introductions, we will transition to the question and answer portion of the event. Each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to each question and will have 90 seconds for their response. There will be no rebuttal time. At the end of tonight's forum, there will be 2 minutes for closing comments. And this is the timer. You can show them the cards. Okay, and we will stop. The introductory comments will follow alphabetical order according to the last name. So thank you. Sarah, we will start with you, and then we'll go to Nan, Laura, and Carly. This is 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum tonight. Thank you all here this evening for attending. I'm Sarah Anderson. I'm a healthcare professional in the medical industry and a single mother of 2 wonderful daughters, one of whom is here tonight. The other one did not turn down a babysitting offer, so I'm pretty proud of that. Isabel will be a senior next year at Lincoln High School, and Ella will be a 7th grader at Patrick Henry Middle School. I'm running for the Sioux Falls School Board because it needs a fresh perspective and a new face. As a parent not influenced by past pursuits of politics or by the local governing experiences of those now serving and running to serve, I will bring this needed new perspective along with a positive, action-oriented agenda to improve the education and learning experiences of our young people. My straightforward platform is focused on the day-to-day social and mental health of our kids. My Cool to Be Kind campaign slogan is part of this and is intended to better involve our students and parents online and in human conversations. I'm offering a specific agenda and to-do list, one that will result in better management of our schools, which is needed now more than ever. My platform is based on 4 overarching initiatives. 1, to better mitigate bullying in our schools. I have a plan ready to implement. 2, to increase public, parent, and student participation in the decision-making process. This, too, is part of my agenda for schools. 3, to establish and advance more public-private partnerships in meeting our priorities, which will enable us to do more with less. And 4, to bring more innovation to the school board itself, which will make us more efficient and likewise result in freeing up additional resources so we can accomplish more without raising taxes. I will also vote against cuts to arts and PE time in our schools, which is crucial for numerous reasons. I am resourceful and creative, and I'm ready to work for you. Please visit Sarah Anderson for Sioux Falls School Board on Facebook to learn more about how I will make it happen if entrusted with your vote. And if you have any questions beyond tonight, I'd be willing to answer that through that Facebook page. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Sarah. And thank you again to the Chamber for hosting us, as well as the League of Women Voters and Melanie for moderating. A special thank you to all the candidates that are running. Carly, for your 6 years of service already to school board, and special recognition to Ken Alberty. Ken Alberty, he is currently the school board president, and he has served 12 years for our school district, and I just want to quickly acknowledge that. And then audience, thank you for being here. Oftentimes, communities, and Sioux Falls is no exception, we just pay more attention to the national scene, and it's really our local representatives that have such an influence on what shapes our daily lives. And that's exactly why I'd like to run for school board, is that I want to positively impact the lives of 24,000 students that we serve every day, 3,400 staff members, as well as an operating budget of $176 million. I'm Nan Baker, and I really feel that our schools, our students, our staff are such a critical component to the health and well-being of our city. Additionally, I have 4 kids that are in our Sioux Falls Public Schools. I have served as past president and treasurer of a PTO at John Harris Elementary. I was also a member of the District Fine Art and Performing Arts Steering Committee. I also served on the K through 12 Curriculum Committee. I'm a substitute teacher for the district. And I was also the co-chair of the Facilities Task Force that brought forth the $190 million bond referendum last year, about this time. So given those past experiences, it really puts me in a position to work effectively and efficiently with all the stakeholders in our district, so we can continue to move forward the momentum, the momentum that we currently have in the district. I look forward to answering your questions this evening, so you can get a better sense of who I am and the skills and the direction that I would help to provide to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura Hubble?
Thank you. I've lived in Sioux Falls for 30 years, and Melanie and I were just talking before we sat down here, is that we both ran for school board 25 years ago. She went on to win, and I went on to win a stint in the legislature a few years later. There I saw an underbelly of politics that few are privy to see, and it has given me a new perspective on how things work and how I think things should work, which is why I'm also campaigning in this race also. My husband is a chiropractor. We've been here he's been here probably 29, 30 years also with his business. We have 3 children. When I ran before, all 3 were in the Sioux Falls schools. Now I have a grandson in the Sioux Falls Sotomayor school, and he keeps telling me I don't say it correctly. And I don't have a Spanish accent, but his is getting really, really good. I have 2 other children in the Denver area. My son works for Dell up in the Denver area. My other daughter works in Loveland. She's a city clerk there. So she's in city government also. Let's see, I graduated at USD with a biology degree in education, and I did teach a few years, was a substitute teacher. I do realize what teachers go through, and especially substitute teachers. Let's see, right now I am currently a real estate agent. I have been a nurse also. My husband and I have flipped houses before it was even called that. So now I am a Sioux Falls contractor. And the reason for running is I love kids. The older I get, the more delighted I am at their antics, their precociousness, their profoundness. And I don't want to see them hurt. And I kind of think with this budget shortfall that having no art, no music, no PE, a 4-day school week hurts kids. And I don't want that. I think there's a better way.
Carly?
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight, and I look forward to answering your questions. My name is Carly Reiter. I was born and raised in Sioux Falls. I attended Oscar Howell Elementary, Edison Middle School, and then Roosevelt High School. I'm married to my husband, Aaron, and together we have 2 daughters, Reagan, who's currently a freshman at Lincoln, and Cameron, who is a 6th grader at Edison. I was first elected to the school board in 2013 and was reelected again in 2016. So I'm finishing my 6th year as a board member, and I'm hoping to serve another term. My 6 years of experience as a board member have shown that I'm here to listen and learn from others, and then make decisions that are fiscally responsible. I'm engaged in the activities of our buildings and have made it a priority to speak with teachers, parents, and community members about questions and concerns that they have. I keep the big picture in mind, and I want to make sure that the decisions that we make are moving us in the right direction of best educating all of our nearly 25,000 students and supporting all of our staff as well. 2 of the topics I'm passionate about are workforce development and social emotional learning. Our job is to prepare students for a changing world. For some, that is college. For others, that is work or a technical education. Our community has a large need for workers in the trades, and we are fortunate to have a great school like Southeast Technical Institute in our community to support that. Not every student is college bound, and we don't need every worker in our community to be college educated. By helping students to find their strengths and introducing them early on to a variety of careers, we can help them be best prepared for whatever their plans are post-high school. Social emotional learning is something that we are working on integrating into all of our classrooms as well. Students are coming to school with a variety of personal traumas, and the way that their learning is changing. It's important that we recognize that and adapt our instructional methods and objectives to meet the needs of our students. We need to teach our students about empathy and understanding, setting goals for themselves, managing their emotions, and making positive decisions. Incorporating these skills will help them to develop life skills that will positively impact the rest of their lives and the contributions that they can make to our community. I look forward to answering your questions and earning your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll start out with our first question. This will be Sarah's, and then Nan, Laura, and Carly. We might as well start out on a big one and get it away. Do you believe that the arts, music, physical education are important to remaining in our schools?
I actually think that's an easy one. I'm not sure who thinks it's a good idea to cut any time from the conversations that have been coming out since the idea came out, which I believe was beginning of April, maybe. It sounds like the reason they started that was due to chaotic schedules. And I know there was a task force. I'm not sure who was on it, but it was teachers. I'm not sure their intent was to cut time. I think there's a lot of reasons that there could be chaos in the schools. A lot of it's behavioral issues. So if we want to focus on chaotic schedules and days for teachers, I think we need to focus on the behavioral and social mental health issues. I think that not only will help the chaos, it will also help our grades. I think it all ties together. So I would vote to not even pursue this any further until next year. I would table that even happening.
Nan?
Thank you. In my understanding, it was 6 months ago, a consultant was hired to look at, hypothetically look at various schedule scenarios with the intent being to focus on how best to serve the kids that are in need of intervention strategies. The bottom line, I support the whole student, so that would mean I support the current level of teaching for PE, art, band, and orchestra. Given that I was past executive director of the Sioux Falls Arts Council, as well as a member of the steering committee for the fine arts, K through 12, and performing arts curriculum for the school district, I do believe in educating the whole student. Now, having said that, I also support the freedom of staff and administrators to collaborate and lay out the various options and what we need to continue to do in terms of best meeting the needs of all the students, including those that have a need for special strategy, intervention strategies during the course of the school day. Thanks.
Laura?
Having been in sports, I have a PE secondary degree, and having raised boys, I know that they need a lot of wiggle room. They need to move large muscles. Being a nurse, I can see that as part of a therapy. Art is part of a therapy. Music is part of therapy. I don't think that should even be on the table. What I do think could be on the table, though, is that I looked at the Department of Labor, and it's kind of sad because I know our teachers, according to the Department of Labor, lowest 0 to 25% for nationwide teacher pay. However, in the Sioux Falls area, administration is 50 to 75% pay nationwide. And I think if we were going to look at any cuts, I'm sure there's a little bit of extra that we could possibly cut in that area. That would be my first area to look at. If there's cuts and there's problems, there's a deficit spending going to be happening pretty soon here. I think we should have a forensic audit of our school. We've not had forensic audits. We've had CPA reviews. And what that is that they basically are given the numbers and then they make sure the math is correct. But, you know, like computers, garbage in, garbage out. If the numbers are not forensically discovered or just forensically looked at, you won't get a forensic estimate of your balance sheet then. I think I have to stop. Okay.
Okay, Carly?
I would say that I also definitely believe in us educating the whole child. That includes the core subjects of math, science, reading, language arts, but I would also consider music, art, and gym to be core subjects. For some students, that's what gets them to school, that's what gets them to be engaged. They need to be able to exercise their freedom of creativity, whether that's in a performing art, whether that's in a drawing or a painting class. The skills that students learn in those classes are easily transferred to other classes. So it's the confidence that they gain by presenting something that they're proud of. It's the fine motor and gross motor skills that they learn by participating in a gym class or at a recess, things like that. So it helps to wire their brains and helps them to learn better and engage better in their other classes because they can take those same skills that they learned. There are many, many research articles out there about the comparison of even ACT and SAT scores of students who participate in the fine arts versus those who participated in none of those. And there's a stark difference between the performance at the end just based on their experiences that they've had in those programs. And I can say that as a current board member that I'm committed to maintaining those levels. And I can also tell you with confidence, so is the administration. So I think that we all have the whole child and we have 25,000 whole children that we want to educate, and we want to make sure that they leave here with the best education that they can have.
Next question, we'll start with Nan. What type of partnerships and/or working relationship should the board have with the Sioux Falls Education Association, SFEA?
Well, we currently, the SFEA operates independent from the board, and it's one that the teachers pay their membership dues to be a part of that, and they help to negotiate the teachers' salary and their schedule. So to the extent that that teachers are feeling comfortable that they're represented, as well as the board is able to get their voice heard and what the needs are for the district. I think having an open process that's transparent and communicates both the needs of the teachers as well as what the funding, what the revenue sources look like for our operating budget. To the extent that we have civil discourse surrounding those issues, I think that we have a healthy partnership. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question?
What type of partnerships and/or working relationship should the board have with the Sioux Falls Education Association, SFEA?
Thank you. I am all for local partnerships. The best government is local government. That's why the school board here is an important part of you, because we represent the people. We are the elected branch of the Sioux Falls School District, and we are supposed to be representing the people. I love that we have a local association that will fight for the teachers. I'm not too big on the National Education Association, however. I think South Dakota does better than the National Education Association does. I think back when I was a kid, I can say that now, I'm going to be married 40 years on Sunday, but South Dakota and Iowa, we were on the top. I mean, we didn't succumb to one of 50. We were on the top. That's how good I think South Dakota is, and I think that's why I love the partnership with our educators and our taxpayers and our teachers. I think that we can do a better job as an individual state, as an individual citywide association, rather than taking orders from the National Association. I have 30 more seconds. I might just add a little bit also that I do think that we need to have open government also. The more open our government is, the more it treats everybody well. I did hear a teacher one time, I was here for a school board meeting, and she was asked by the media to make a comment. She says, "I can't, I'm a teacher." And I go, that's really sad. I want our teachers and our taxpayers to be well represented here.
Carly?
Thank you. I think it's very important that the board and the Education Association have a very positive relationship. We are, as a board, here to make decisions that impact not just students, but staff. And so it's important that we respect and value their opinions. And I think it works both ways, that it's important that they also respect and value the opinions and decisions that we make. And the best way to do that is to have open communication. If we make decisions and they don't understand, then that kind of causes issues both ways. If they make a decision and we don't understand, then that causes concern on our side. So I think the best thing is to always work on having a positive relationship, having open communication, and understanding where the other party is coming from, so that you can try to work to be on the same page, or at least as close to that as possible. If there are concerns that are raised, there certainly is a chain of command that is followed, just like in any business. And so we would want teachers to follow that chain of command, and we would want them to let others hear their concerns and issues. And so I think those things are still in place, and you can have that chain of command in addition to having a positive relationship and open communication between both parties.
Okay. Next question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Man, Sarah, I haven't checked you off yet.
Sorry about that. I think I am the newcomer, and I think this is one of the positive things about being a newcomer, is that I would have to ask a lot of questions and see how the relationship is, because I don't know how the relationship is right now, but I would definitely ask the questions that need to be asked. And if it isn't a good, transparent relationship, how can we fix it? And maybe some of those questions that are just difficult to ask from previous board members or those serving now, I won't be as uncomfortable to ask those because I am a newcomer. And so I have talked with teachers, and actually one of my neighbors is a retired teacher, and she has a knitting group that gets together of retired teachers. And so she invited me over, and as they were knitting, there was 5 of them there, and I said, how many years experience are in this room? And they hadn't added it up before, but it was 187 years of teaching experience with 5 teachers. And I just sat and listened and asked questions, and a lot of what I heard was teachers don't feel heard. They feel like they can't communicate because there'll be repercussions. And that was really sad to hear. I had not heard that before, but it's because I haven't asked it before. And that's very important. If we are one of the lowest paid teachers, we at least want them to be happy, to feel heard, and to at least enjoy that part of their job, is that they feel valued. And like Carly said, there are 2 sides to every story. If we are lacking in that, what are other school districts doing? That's where we'd reach out, and who is successful, not only in South Dakota, but across the United States. Who has a good working relationship? What can we do to change that? And that's what part of the innovation is, reaching out and asking, not hiring consultants, because they aren't cheap and we don't have any money. I mean, I'm just looking at the budget and watching all the school board I'm gonna stop.
I used to say, okay.
I was on a roll.
This one will start with Laura. Do you feel there's a value in belonging to the Associated School Boards of South Dakota? If so, what?
Yes, kind of in the previous question, I do appreciate that we have a partnership across South Dakota. Like it has been said here previously, you know, you kind of look to see who's got the best deal going. It's one of the scientists that I always kind of admire says you don't reinvent the wheel. If a school board has something that's has a good relationship with their community and they're doing well, let's talk to them. Let's see what's going on with their school board. Now, if we have some pretty good ideas, and we do, Sioux Falls is known across the nation. I'm sorry, yes, the nation, but I meant to say the state. I do have quite a few friends all over the state, and Sioux Falls is kind of the envy of South Dakota. So we should be willing to share with other communities what is good about our schools also. And there is plenty to brag about. And I think a lot of it has to do with that there's a lot of volunteerism. There's a lot of dedicated people that have worked real hard to make our schools as great as they are. And yeah, we need to be not just a little community within ourselves. We need to be actually working with the state and welcoming their opinions also.
Ron?
I would agree. We've been a member for the past few years with the Associated School Board. We've been lucky enough to have Todd, one of our board members, has served on that state level. And the knowledge that we have gained, the communication, the partnerships that we have with other districts across the state has been very important. We have been leaders in that. We have taught people a lot of things, which overall makes the state better as far as education. We also have been able to then go on and participate in things like the National School Board Convention, which is amazing to go and network with people, and you hear new ideas and new thoughts. At our last work session, we were able to share some of those things that we had learned at that conference, and you go and you learn and you share your ideas and you come back rejuvenated, and it's really the only professional development that you get as a board member, and so it's a really great opportunity. At the state level, they also host local conferences, and they have a lot of different workshops that they offer. They send lots of emails to us with information, articles, and so as long as you're participating and you're engaging in that as a board member and as our district, I think it offers a lot of value to us as a district, and we are also able to share a lot of that information with our peers.
Sarah?
Okay. I guess my first question, which will always probably be my first question, is what is the cost? I'm not sure what the cost is versus outcome. It sounds like we started a few years ago, and what have we gained? I've been to seminars, through work where I've gone and I've sat there and spent 2 days and a lot of money and really didn't learn anything. A lot of the times it's stuff I'd already learned or I could have taught myself, and that's just because I've been in my industry for so long. So are we getting our money's worth? Is it something that we can find online? I'm a big advocate if it's online and it's free, that's how we should share and communicate. So if we've gone, let's say, for 3 years, what have we actually brought back and implemented? Have we done anything different, or have we just, had conversations with other school boards, and is it worth the cost? So that would be one of the things I would look into with other things. What are we spending money on, and what are the outcomes, and is it something we want to continue doing? Thanks.
Nan?
Yeah, thank you. There is value in belonging to the Associated School Boards of South Dakota. We also need to recognize that urban and rural school districts are going to have their own unique challenges. And I guess that drives home really the importance of our local districts being able to make choices that work best from them. And I think of two examples that stand out. Number one is our ability to opt out. That's critically important when we're looking at the needs of each individual district and how and what our funding needs look like. And then number two, the state sets the curriculum standards, but what it looks like in the classroom comes down to each individual district. And the reason why I bring those two pieces up is that through an association, while we have unique and different challenges from a rural standpoint versus urban standpoint, at the end of the day, we're making decisions to best support the students within each of those respective districts. So there's always new things that we can learn from each other, and And to the extent that we belong to an association that allows us to do that is of value to us. Thank you.
Enough. Next question, a short question. Our district serves a variety of different neighborhoods. Which Sioux Falls School District buildings have you spent time in? This will start with Carly.
Oh, boy. I think I've been to almost every single school. I get invited to lots of different places as a board member. And so even in the past week, I got invited to Oscar Howe to talk to some students about working in public service, which was a really fun experience. Obviously, I spend time in my own kids' schools, which would be Edison and Lincoln. In the past, I've been participating in things like the Education Foundation's grant awards, where we get to travel to lots of different schools and be on the prize patrol, which is a really fun activity, so you get to meet teachers that way. I have spent time at Memorial meeting with teachers about some concerns that they have. I'm trying to think where else I've been lately. I usually try to attend a lot of either sporting events or arts events. I like to go to the plays that are offered at the high school level, athletic events. I think of where else. Many schools all across town. And if it's not at the school specifically, I also was honored to participate in an activity with the Lowell students that happened to take place at the Washington Pavilion, but it was with the students of Lowell Elementary. So we have a lot of great schools, and they are all very different, and they are doing great things in each of those buildings, no matter how big or small or how old or new the buildings are. We have great people, both students and staff, in all of our schools, and it's always fun to be invited to come and participate in the activities that are going on.
Sarah?
I have only been in the schools that my children or I have attended, which is Washington, Lincoln, Patrick. Whittier, I was part of the handing out the backpacks through one of my employers. So I was at Whittier for that, which was the most fun I've had. Watching kids pick out their backpack and seeing their face when they got that backpack, it was one of the best experiences I've had. But I do, in my plan, what I'd really like to do is go visit the 3 schools that have the in-school clinics, because I really want to push for telemedicine in our schools. We already have 3 clinics that we could utilize and bring that to the other Title I schools, because having kids have access to healthcare, telemedicine is the new and upcoming thing. I think there's about 20 states that already have telemedicine in their schools, and there's also Medicaid funding for that. So that's one of the 3 schools I'd like to go see and visit and see how that's working. And so I guess all the schools that I plan on visiting is going to be in the future, not so much my past, but hopefully in my future. That's like my first visit. I'd like to go in and see and check out those clinics and how we can bring telemedicine around. And I know Minnesota is working on it. There's a Republican in the legislation. It's already passed it's been on the floor and passed, so we can kind of model after them. How did they do it? How much funding was there? What were their steps? So my hope is to get into those schools first, those Title I schools. Thank you.
Nan?
Okay, well, thank you. There's 2 projects that I worked on with the school district where this issue of equity surfaced. The first is the facilities task force. And the members on that particular task force all agreed that a student's home address or their school that the student attends should not dictate the educational opportunities or the services available to them. So that truly speaks to all the schools across the district maintaining an equitable standard so that education remains the same and isn't affected by a facility. And the second piece to that is we looked at Whittier Middle School, and what we brought forth as a recommendation and the board approved is that the board should begin to prepare an eventual replacement for Whittier Middle School through land acquisition at the existing location. And so I would want to maintain the district's current standards on making sure the facilities across the district have the same, are equitable across the district so that services are not hindered no matter where the student is, what their home address is. So, thank you.
Laura?
I think the school board members should go to all the different schools. I think they should be well-versed in what's going on day to day with our children. For the schools that I've been in, basically when my kids went to school here, I have been to the Sotomayor School because I have lunch a couple of times with my grandson there, and I see some of his programs that he puts on. And as a nurse, with my husband being a chiropractor, we did some scoliosis testing at the school, so I've been in those schools also. One of my situations that I saw there was between 2 years, one girl had gained 90 pounds. And I thought, oh my goodness, we were the ones to alert that maybe there's something going on, and if the schools should probably check that out. I've been, like I said, I've been to my grandson's school. My other grandson goes to Central Preschool, and I've been to visit his classes also. And I also volunteer every Sunday in Sunday school as the 3 and 4-year-olds. And that's where you have to pray before you go, saying, "Dear God, please let me understand the 3-year-old language," because you want that child happy and you want that child excited to come, because you know how horrible it is to get kids to school or to church who don't want to come. My goal in teaching Sunday school to 3 and 4-year-olds is make them happy. I want mom and dad to have a great time in adult church. My goal for the school board is make those kids happy. I want them to come to school. I want mom and dad, and I know there's chaos in the home if the kids don't want to be there. So that's my goal.
Next one, please, this starts back with Sarah. Please rate the administration of Sioux Falls schools as poor, fair, good, excellent, and what you would do to improve it.
So the school administration, like the principals and the admin, or?
I would think the entire amount. It says, please rate the administration of Sioux Falls schools.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the wage disparity between the teachers and the administration. I think it's fair to say that it's been a long time coming for the teachers to actually be out of the bottom of pay. I think we've been trying to work on that for a long time. I also think we've been trying to work on diversity for a long time, and we still don't have the diverse teachers that we have. And everywhere I look in the plans are, having diverse teachers, but I don't see a lot of talk about diverse administration. We did hire a new superintendent a few years ago, and what better diversity is to get a superintendent as a diverse position that can teach all of us how to, be inclusive and diversive and make, this community more balanced. So those are my top two. I think it's a difficult conversation to have, and I think being a newcomer, it's going to be easier for me to bring these things up because I haven't been on the past conversations. I do think, as far as administrative pay, looking at job descriptions, what college is needed for even administrative assistants, how does that look compared to a teacher's pay? Are the administrative assistants making more than a teacher with a master's degree? I think we just need to use common sense and really take a look at that. So those are the top things that I believe we can do better on, definitely. And as far as rating, I think it's too early in the game for me to give a score. We could do better.
Okay, Nan?
Thank you. To talk about it, I would like to really hone in on the how we rate our administrators, but I want to just put into perspective this administrative pay. 85% of our $176 million budget goes to salary and benefits. Of that, 70% of it is for teacher pay. Only 9% of it goes to administration pay. As of 2011, our administrators were paid 49th in the nation. So I hope that puts it into context and perspective. I guess when we talk about how we're going to rate the administration, I think the most important issue for the Sioux Falls School District will be our ability to educate a growing and evolving population of students. In the last decade, the enrollment has grown 20%. Projections indicate that we'll be at 25,000 students by 2023. And with that, we'll have 37% diversity. So I think the most pressing issues will be increased attendance, improving graduation rates, recruiting and retaining staff. So to the extent that our administration is able to provide leadership in those areas, of which I feel currently we're moving in the right direction, and as long as we can continue on that path, I would continue to give them an A+ rating. What was your top rating, Melanie?
Excellent,
Excellent. I will give them an excellent. Thank you.
or fair, good, and excellent.
Okay.
Laura?
Oh, thank you. I need to explain something that in 2011, when the teachers were the 49th pay in the nation, administration was 26th. So there is a diversity there, and I think that we need to pay a whole lot more attention to our teachers. That's just stats, people. I mean, that's not my opinion. That's just, I got the stats right here if you want to look at them. And one thing I've noticed is that I think the administration a lot of times pushes the teachers to affect the legislators. When I was a legislator up there, we got a whole stack of cards from the teachers, which we appreciate, but it was for a half-penny sales tax, not realizing that the first draft of that bill had nothing with teachers in it. There was nothing in it for the teachers. And then the state, you might have to realize, the state doesn't give money to the teachers. The state gives money to the administration, who take off the top and give the rest to the teachers. The state has nothing to say about how the money is spent. That's an administrative in a school board decision. And also with that half-penny sales tax that passed, I don't think the teachers realized that if those funds went down, teacher pay would go down also. It was a very dangerous bill that it was a 3-page bill, and I beg people, just read the bill. But it was passed, and I think it was, is there a push to keep teacher pay down because that may make administration pay higher? It kind of seems like that to me. I'm for the teachers.
I think this is a really interesting question, and I'm going to put it in the perspective of my own workplace. So I work on a team of approximately 10 people, and I feel like if you were to ask me how my team at work performed, I couldn't give you a poor, fair, good, or excellent, because people in my group have very, very strong strengths, and there are people in my group who have opportunities to improve. And so when we're talking about administration, I'm going to go with saying that's the 30-plus principals and the 10-plus administrators here at IPC. And I think if you extrapolate that to that group, you say, we have some amazing administrators. Some of those administrators that are amazing also have opportunities to grow in their own areas. And so I don't think I could fairly say that we are all excellent. I can tell you we are not all poor. I can tell you we are not all fair. I think we have a very high percentage of excellent people. We have a very high percentage of good people. And in that mix of people, all of those people have amazing strengths, and all of those people have opportunities to grow in their positions every day. So I don't feel comfortable giving a rating, because I don't think you can lump some people into one group and say that they're doing a great job or they're not doing a great job, because everybody brings something to the table.
Good enough, thank you. I'm going to try to put two together because we have so many and so little time. Many economists expect a recession in the next 3 years. If the state budget got cut, where is the first place you would look to cut? And also, were there any education bills that failed this year in the South Dakota legislature you wish would have passed, and why? And let's start with Nan.
Thank you.
Let's read that
I
again.
mean, how many parts did this question have? Maybe 3 or 4, but,
Yeah.
I'll take a stab at it. First of all, I'd like to thank, we have a, thanks to a committee of local financial leaders. They've studied our district budget for the past several years. And with that, we have a 5-year budget forecast, which projects an annual balanced budget. So I feel that my role as a board member would be to monitor this budget forecast to allow for an annual balanced budget. Additionally, my role as a board member would be to monitor our levies. compared to our neighbors at this point, Brandon Valley, Baltic, T, Lennox, Tri-Valley, the Sioux Falls School District levies are at the lowest for homeowners, and we're at second lowest for commercial property owners. So to the extent that we can continue to make changes at the local level that would have to reflect changes of revenue streams at the state level, those are hard decisions that we need to make. When we look to make our budget annually, we first start off with what the needs are, then we look at what the state is able to provide in a revenue stream. That gives us our deficit. That lets us know locally what we need to do to make up for those shortfalls. So I don't think there's any easy choices to make at this point of what cuts would need to be made. I'd want to really look at a holistic approach and really be able to dial down some of those numbers. Thanks.
Laura?
Well, as a real estate agent, I want to explain that when I'm showing houses, it's more difficult to actually sell a house in T or Lennox in Harrisburg, actually, rather than Sioux Falls, because of our mill levy is lower than that. I'm not saying ours is as low as it could be. I'm saying that the higher that property taxes are, it does affect people's bottom line. It does affect where people will buy their houses. If we want more people in the Sioux Falls area, we need to keep our taxes lower. Let's see, the first place I would cut, I would definitely have to do, look into a forensic type of audit, like I was explaining before. Once we have that type of an audit, we can more clearly determine what needs to be cut and what doesn't. As the bills that were passed or failed, I'm not aware of any in the past legislative session. And also, let's see, I don't think there's another part, but like I'm saying, I really think that we need to maybe even renegotiate contracts. Maybe we need to renegotiate how many administrators that we have. You hear about the people being, raised from one level to another just because they put in their time. If there's a recession, that's got to be looked at. And I think, we could probably hire more and better teachers if there's a recession, even if we don't have as much administration.
Okay. Carly?
I'll start with the question about the bill, just because I think it's an important one. This last year, there was a bill that was introduced regarding doing a study on early childhood education and trying to help and intervene with our earliest learners, those preschoolers who really we need to start off as strong as possible. And it was really disappointing to see the lack of support for that. We talk about how can we get our kids to be performing by third grade, by fifth grade, by eighth grade, but the reality is, how can we get our kids to be ready in kindergarten? How can we have our kids be ready in first grade? And so I don't remember the exact amount, but I want to say it was some ridiculously small amount, like $5,000 is what it was going to cost. And the fact that we couldn't come up with a consensus to have that was really really telling to me about the commitment to early education in our state, which is unfortunate. So I would say that would probably be my largest disappointment as far as the educational bills. In regards to what you would cut, I think you'd have to look at what amount are we talking. Are we talking something where we could look and say, let's just be more efficient in some of the things that we're doing, or are we talking huge amounts of money? We have a lot of capital expenditures that are necessary, but we also have some that are just helping us to prepare for growth and helping to make our buildings safer. And I would never say that those aren't important, but I would say that I would forego something like that before I would think about increasing our student ratios in our classrooms or cutting services that our students need, because ultimately our goal is to educate the whole child.
Okay. Sarah?
This, as a newcomer, this one is a tough one for me, but I think where I would start might not be large dollars if there was a recession, but I think, like I stated earlier, checking into the administrative pay. I know we wouldn't be cutting teacher pay because we already are low there, but we would look to see if the administrative pay down to administrative assistants makes common sense with the degree they have, the degree that's needed. And I would probably put a hold on all consultations, paying anybody to consult, see if we can do it with the educated staff we have. There's a lot of bright people in our community that I think holding consults, there might be a pay raise hold, not for teachers. Like I said, I think they need more money, so there might be administrative pay holds. And it's not very popular to say, I'm sure, but not everything's popular. I know the school board is held to make some pretty tough decisions, and they have asked us as taxpayers, that they understand it's tough, but they have to make the tough decisions. Well, it kind of falls for them as well. Let's see, and there's things like going to those, what you talked about, the school boards going to visit other school boards, things like that might have to stop if we're in a recession and put on hold. One of the bills that I was hoping would pass, I don't know the House bill number, but it's the special education for homeschooled kids. I have to stop, but that's one of the things I wish would have passed. And there's a couple I'm glad that didn't pass.
Okay. We'll start with Laura. How do you believe our district should address growing behavior challenges in our classroom?
As a nurse, my husband being a chiropractor, I represent two different modes of thinking when it comes to health. It's tough for me, even as a nurse, to medicate students. It's tough to me to see them be hurt by medication, and I have seen it. As a nurse, hospital nurse, I've done more nursing than any other thing else. It's tough for me to see people being medicated to the point of actually hurting a child. And I don't think that is the way to go. I don't think medication is the way to treat a lot of mental illness. I think a lot of it is activity. I think a lot of it is different types of therapies, like art therapy, like music therapy. I think recess, they found studies now that recess is an antidote for ADHD. Who would have thought? All these kids with all this energy probably need to, explode a little bit on the recess field. And I think that is something that we should look into. My biggest fear in schools for children is that they are controlled. I like to see kids innovative. I like to see them have that aha moment. I don't like to see them controlled by medication, by curriculum, especially by being labeled. And I just think that we can be more. I have to stop, but a little bit more innovative in how we treat medical problems.
For better understanding, how do you believe our district should address growing behavior challenges in our classrooms? Carly?
Thank you. So I think there's a couple things that we have in place right now and some things that we're looking to expand. The first one would be, as we talked about at our one of our last work sessions, some of the programming that we're doing with social emotional learning. And as I talked about when I first started, in my introductions, I talked about teaching students about empathy and understanding, managing their emotions, and making positive decisions. And I think the unfortunate thing is that too many parents at home don't have the time or the skills to teach their kids these things at home. And so they're coming to school with some of these behavioral issues, and what they really need is somebody with some patience and somebody that's going to teach them the skills for them to self-regulate. How can they kind of talk themselves down? We do have some programs going on in our elementary schools that are looking very promising, and as a nurse myself, we talk about this at work, and one of the things is called mindfulness, and it's about taking a deep breath. It's about really getting in touch with yourself and knowing your emotions. And I think that people of all ages can use those types of skills. People do yoga, people do meditation. Those are harmless. They are very helpful things. So we're continuing to do those in our classrooms. And then real quick, also having partnerships. We already have great partnerships with Avera, with Sanford, with Southeastern Behavioral Health. So we do have experts. We have psychologists. We have social workers. So continuing our partnerships to bring experts on for those students who need more than just an emotional training or some skill-based things, but have a higher level of behavioral issues, we can use the experts in our community.
Sarah?
I think we have enough programs where we're telling the kids what to do at school, and it comes from administration. I think we need to start with the kids. With the bullying, the social media's got us in this position, and I think it can also get us out. That's my cool to be kind. I've even used it as an adult, getting to talk about politics. Sometimes you get a lot of negative feedback from adults gets quite ugly, and so I just answer with hashtag cool to be kind, and it's amazing how it works. It's not confrontational, and I'm hoping kids can start doing that. We need to turn the tides. We need to make it cool to be kind. Unfortunately, it's popular to be the bully and to fight and post it on Facebook, but I think we can actually use social media to turn that around. It doesn't cost us any money. Also, on the report card, something that we could add, it wouldn't cost money, it was a kindness grade. You know, when you're scored from 0 to 4, I think it'd be a good opener to talk to parents when they come to conferences. You know, what is my child scored? Being kind, having empathy, mindfulness that Carly talked about. You know, what is your child's grade? That's a great opener for the parent. And the kid can see, you know, grow, get to be a 4, you know, and that's making them mindful. You know, we are watching, you are getting a grade for it. Just as much as learning, you need to learn how to be kind to each other. And parent engagement. Children learn what they live, how we treat each other. And I think having that on the report card would get parents engaged because kids like getting good grades and showing, you know, my daughter loves coming home saying that she helped someone out that got bullied. I mean, she's so proud. And we talk about it a lot, so it's very important in our household.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, currently the district has over 100 staff dedicated to behavioral health. We spend resources on 24,000 students through specialized teachers, curriculum. We are daily managing a lot of moving parts. We try to care for all. We recognize there is a need. We do bully prevention. The district currently does bully prevention. They have the LSS mentorship program. They have a partnership with Southeast Behavioral Health, utilizing their expertise to training teachers, counselors, behavioral specialists. Kids face challenges, and we're doing our best to support them. Thank you.
We're really close to winding up, so compelling question. Why are you running for a school board position? And we will start with Carly.
So as I mentioned in my introduction, I've been on the board for the last 6 years, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the things that I've learned, the relationships that I've formed, the committees that I've had the opportunity to participate on. I have been on the calendar committee the last couple of years. I'm recently joined the PATH committee, which talks about having safe pathways to get kids to and from school. We have safe and secure schools, which we just got a great report on, the things that we're doing within our district to keep our kids safe. I was on the Sioux Falls Education Foundation board for a few years, which was an amazing opportunity to see how the community comes together to support our teachers through grants. And if you like them on Facebook, you saw all the excitement the last week or so about giving out money to give back to our students and our teachers. I'm currently on the Policy Review Committee, which has been a really great learning experience to learn about the whys and hows of why we do things in the district. And I really enjoyed my time on the Workforce and Education Task Force that the Chamber of Commerce had as well, and creating those partnerships between private industry, public industry, and how can we as a K-12, but also a Southeast Tech, really work together to best prepare our students and have them be, whether it's work ready, career ready, or college ready at the end of their time with us. And so I feel like I've done a variety of things. I have the knowledge, I have the experience, I have the relationships formed with people. I love to listen to community members, to teachers. As a K through 12 graduate of Sioux Falls Public Schools, it's always funny to me when I go to schools and I see people and I'm like, is that so-and-so from high school? They teach here. And I just think that's so awesome that so many of the people that I know from my youth valued the education that they got here in Sioux Falls so much that they wanted to join the team that taught them. And so that makes me proud to be on this team, even though I'm not a teacher, but I can still contribute and I can gain that trust from people that I've had long-term relationships with since I was much younger, and be able to support them and hear them and hear their opinions and try to make a good decision to help them out. Thanks.
Sarah?
Yeah.
No. No, they have a 1-minute closing.
Which wasn't that. Oh, should have cut me off.
Sorry, a small glitch about time. Sir?
When I first started running, it was my passion for mental health issues. And after talking to some parents, I'm lucky my kids aren't bullied to the point where they don't want to go to school. And I felt that it was easier for me to talk about it because most parents' hands are tied. They'll tell me, I can't say anything, my child begs me not to. It makes it worse. So I felt like I could be their voice. I could stand up because even they want to be their children want to be 6 degrees of separation from anyone saying anything because they'll fear it'll get worse. So I started out wanting to make a difference in the kids' lives, in the mental health, being in the medical industry. I have knowledge in that. I've been working in it for a long time. The telemedicine, I know what's out there. I know commercial insurance pays for it. I know Medicare pays for it. So that's how I feel like I can make a difference, is expanding that. We have great partnerships, like Carly said, with behavioral health. Kids can even see their own doctors. So that's what started it. But then after talking to these teachers and talking to more people and finding out, teachers don't feel like they can talk, if they say anything because of repercussions, that's something that I find very important. Because if the teachers aren't happy, then the kids aren't going to learn as much as they could. So I've just grown to have more passions as I move along this. And I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot more and hopefully come up with more innovative ideas that haven't been thought of before, because I am new and it is fresh and I have a lot of energy and excitement. And I, hopefully, if entrusted with your vote, will make a difference in the mental health and day-to-day aspects of our kids' lives.
Yeah?
Thank you. As I said before, last year, this time last year, I co-chaired the facilities task force that brought forth the $190 million bond referendum. So if I'm elected to the school board, my priority is overseeing those sets of recommendations. I would also carry forward the task force recommendation to adhere to the 24.3 to 1 student-teacher ratio. So that means that our high school enrollments would be capped at 1,800. Our middle schools would be at 1,000 and our elementary at 600. And then specific to the other projects outside of the new middle school and the new high school would be that we have the new elementary school should be built and open by 2024. Number 2, that the board should begin, as I already said, to prepare for the eventual replacement of Whittier Middle School through the land acquisition in its current existing location. We have a number of kids that walk to Whittier Middle School. That's the importance of keeping it in its existing location. And then number 4 would be that the school board would use a transparent open process, similar to the one the task force used to establish those new school boundaries within the district. So those would be my interest areas and what I'd like to continue to move forward for the district if elected. Thanks.
Laura?
Basically, the school board has always been kind of relegated to those who have more progressive bent, and I come as a more conservative, socially conservative and also financially conservative. So it was basically the cuts that I saw coming that prompted me to jump into the board here, the candidacy. When I saw the cuts, I thought, this can't really happen because there is plenty of money in the school system. It's just that how it's allocated. And then also, when I was in the legislature, I happened to notice that a lot of funding money was happening in nonprofits. South Dakota has probably more nonprofits per capita than any other state in the nation. Don't quote me on that. That's just my feeling. One reason is because we don't regulate them. We allow all of our nonprofits to be self-policing. Every other state does make sure that they are regulated by the state. We do not. And when I see nonprofits getting kind of like a pass-through, they're getting foundation money, they're getting grant money, they're partnering with the schools. All of a sudden, money is lost, just like it was in the Gear Up fiasco. I think that you need a watchdog in a school system, and I am that watchdog. I'd make sure that the money goes where it's intended, that we do have forensic audits, that we do have accountability, and that we don't. There's no even a smell of corruption in our school system. That's my goal.
Okay. We're now coming to the end, and we have closing comments. These will be 1 minute, and the order is reversed of the opening. And I won't make the same mistake 2 years in a row. It'll be Carly, Laura, Nan, and Sarah. We'll wind up with Sarah and start with Carly.
Okay, thank you. So as I've said a few times tonight, I'm a proud parent and I'm a proud graduate of the Sioux Falls School District. And I know firsthand that people choose Sioux Falls to live because of our schools. It is the kind of the bedrock of our community, and I want to maintain that. There are people who choose our schools district for a variety of reasons. I recently met someone who said, I'm moving to Sioux Falls. What school boundary do I need to live in so that my daughter can participate in orchestra? And I said, whichever one you want to live in. Every single school has that, and they were shocked. And so I think it's important to realize the amazing things we have going on in our schools and to appreciate those. And I do, because I get the opportunity to visit those. And I look forward to the new schools that we are bringing on board and all the excitement that that brings to our community over the next couple of years. And so I just ask for your vote, and I feel like I've done a great job, and I am committed to continuing that and learning and growing and listening and hoping making decisions that are reflective of what our community needs and wants. Thank you.
Laura, your minute.
Thank you. Just remember the two different numbers, 49 and 26. Teachers were 49th at the same time. Administration was 26. And I thought we had 2 minutes, so I'm going to hurry with this one. Sioux Falls is a beautiful and vibrant city, but we need to be cognizant of how we spend the taxpayer money. We just saw how the city has a $21 million bond that is kind of up in the air right now. It was a poor way of using the taxpayer money. We have a $190 million school bond that passed with unheard of majority. Our school bond passed with an 85% favorable rating. Usually they're about 50-50. I've never seen one at 85 before. When looking at it, it surprises me that we have very few places to vote, and the northern part of Sioux Falls has no polling place for people to cast their vote. And I do think that needs to be addressed. I think we need to get out the vote. Typically, this vote will be a very low number. That's a shame. Could we do better? We could probably have more voting places and better access to voting.
Nan?
Well, thank you. It is important to discuss mill levies, budgets, opt-outs, salaries, benefits, polling places, our bond referendum. But at the end of the day, we remember people. We remember people. There's several teachers and coaches that have been influential in my life, and my sense is that you all have the same sentiment. You can think of a teacher or coach that changed your trajectory. For me, my maternal grandma Cruz is why I believe in public education. My grandma Cruz was a real leader in her local community. She opened a lot of educational avenues for many children. She believed in public education. She was a self-taught learner, and she was denied the ability to go to school past 8th grade. And that's because she had to help. She was the oldest of 4 daughters, and she had to help on the farm. So when fall rolled around, she made sure to tell us to value our education and to know its significance and its importance. So what my promise to all of you is to carry that spirit forward, value your public education.
Sarah?
I will start off again with the main reason I'm running is for mental health. I think there's a lot we can do for the mental health and to protect our kids so they can go to school and feel safe and not worry about walking in the hallways and what'll happen. I'm also a single mom with 2 daughters, so budgeting is important to me. Pay raises are important to me. Every year, I look to hope to get a certain percent. So I get how important that is for teachers. I think they should have a living income. I think they should be able to afford to buy a house in Sioux Falls with their income and after they get out of college with their degrees. One of my other concerns is the transparency and public input and teachers being able to speak up more and feel that they're heard. One of the things I am concerned that I think we really need to keep an eye on is the $190 million bond. I know we were offered that Sanford land and it didn't work out after the vetting by the school board, but I am concerned about the interest we're going to pay, how long it's going to take, and if we're going to stay on task with that, because we cannot afford to be over budget. I believe we're over budget on the land purchase already, and we haven't started, and if I'm wrong on that, we can correct. Okay.
Thank you very much. This concludes tonight's school board forum. We appreciate everyone in attendance. I have never seen so many questions. We got through about 14, and I believe there's about 25 more. It is also a large audience, which we greatly appreciate. Shows the importance of people knowing what the issues are. You have to vote in this election. We want to thank our school board candidates tonight, and I think we should give them a round of applause. On behalf of the Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce and the League of Women Voters, we thank you for coming tonight. Exercise your right to vote on Tuesday, May 21st, or tomorrow or Monday. And thank you very, very much.